The alien princess stood on the edge of her palace balcony, her dark eyes scanning the horizon. The twin suns of her world glared down on the desert plains, turning the golden sands into a sea of fire. Her people called her their leader, their hope, their shield. But she felt none of the warmth of those words today. Her heart was heavy with anger, disappointment, and fear. She had lost something precious, something irreplaceable, her child. Her advisors hovered near, silent but tense. "Princess, the humans have offered a ceasefire," one said, bowing slightly. "They are willing to negotiate." The princess turned sharply, her gaze cutting like a blade. "Negotiate?" she said. "Negotiate when they have taken what is mine? Never, I will not bow to humans. I will not surrender to their words. They will feel the strength of my people. They will know that no one can harm my family and live." The council shifted nervously. They had learned long ago that when the princess's fury rose, reason was dangerous. She was determined, stubborn, and proud, the embodiment of her lineage. She would not relent until her child was found. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, a human soldier named Lily prepared for her daily patrol. Lily was known for her calm nature, even in the most dangerous situations. Her unit had been stationed at a remote border outpost for weeks, monitoring alien activity. She liked to think of herself as ordinary, but every time a new mission came, she proved she was far from it. Today, her mission was routine, a simple check of the perimeter. The outpost sat near a canyon that split the desert world's edge. The winds howled through the rocks, carrying the scent of sand and distant minerals. Lily moved carefully, scanning the horizon with her binoculars. She had learned to trust her instincts, and today, they whispered that something unusual was nearby. Halfway through her patrol, she noticed a small shape near the canyon's edge. At first, she thought it might be a rock or a stray animal, but as she drew closer, she realized it was neither. A child, not human, crouched among the rocks. The child's skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, a soft, almost ethereal glow that marked them as alien. Their eyes, large and bright, reflected fear and confusion. Lily knelt carefully, keeping her voice calm. "Hey there. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The child flinched but did not run. Lily noticed the faint markings on their skin, symbols that hinted at royalty. This was no ordinary child. She could feel it in her bones. "Are you lost?" Lily asked softly. The child didn't answer. Their small hands gripped a piece of cloth, a fragment of a robe that had once been fine and elegant. Lily's heart ached at the sight. They were alone, scared and vulnerable. Without hesitation, she scooped the child gently into her arms. The child stiffened, then relaxed slightly, sensing the warmth and safety of her hold. Lily's training had prepared her for many scenarios, but this was something different. This was personal. She felt an immediate connection, a need to protect this small life that had somehow fallen into her hands. Lily carried the child back to the outpost. The walls were cold metal, utilitarian and stark, but within it felt safer. She wrapped the child in a soft blanket, offering water and food. The child's eyes darted around, taking in the human surroundings. They didn't speak, but their trust began to grow. Back on the alien world, the princess had received reports of her child's disappearance. Panic surged through her like wildfire. She had sent search parties, scoured every corner of her territory, and yet the child was gone. Worse, a report had reached her that a human had been seen with the child. Rage and fear collided in her chest. She ordered her ship prepared immediately. The engines roared as the vessel lifted into the sky, leaving the palace in a blur of light and shadow. The princess herself boarded, every movement precise and commanding. She would find her child, and she would decide the fate of the human who dared hold them. Lily had spent the evening beside the child, speaking in gentle tones. "You're safe here. I won't let anyone hurt you." The child's small hands reached out to touch her face, a gesture of trust that filled Lily with a mix of awe and responsibility. She knew this child was more than they seemed, and she would protect them at all costs. As night fell, the twin moons rose above the horizon, casting pale light across the outpost. The child curled up beside Lily, finally asleep, trusting the human soldier completely. Outside, the winds carried whispers of a storm, but inside there was warmth, safety, and the fragile beginnings of an unexpected bond. The next day brought new challenges. Scanners detected unusual activity approaching the outpost. Lily's heart skipped a beat as she realized the readings were not human. They were fast, precise, and deadly. She moved quickly, securing the child and preparing for the arrival. A ship landed at the edge of the outpost, its sleek design unmistakably alien. The doors opened and figures stepped out, their movements disciplined, their presence commanding. Lily's instincts told her to stay calm, to assess, to negotiate if possible. But she also knew that she had to protect the child first above all else. The lead figure stepped forward. Tall, regal, and commanding, the figure's dark eyes scanned the area until they locked on the child. Lily's heart raced. This was the princess, no doubt, the one who had traveled across the galaxy to find her child. "Stay back," Lily called, her voice firm. "I am protecting this child." The princess's eyes softened briefly, seeing the child safe, but her voice remained strong. "Give me my child," she said. "No harm will come to you if you comply." Lily hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I found them alone. I promise to keep them safe. I am not their enemy." The princess studied her, reading the truth in her words. She saw courage, care, and a strength she had not expected from a human, and yet the bond the human had formed with her child made her pause. She had to know more. Over the next few hours, the princess observed from a distance. Lily interacted with the child, teaching, comforting, and playing simple games to make the child laugh. Every laugh, every smile struck a chord in the princess's heart. She had feared losing her child forever, and seeing them safe, even with a human, eased some of the unbearable weight. Despite her relief, the princess did not yet step forward. She would not allow herself to be too vulnerable. She remained hidden, watching, learning, and wondering how a human could show such care. She had always been taught to see humans as threats, untrustworthy and dangerous, and yet here was one, defying every expectation, acting with honor and compassion. Night came again, and the princess's ship hovered silently above the outpost. She knew the coming days would be critical. She could not act rashly. She needed to understand the human, to see if this trust could be justified. Meanwhile, Lily and the child slept, unaware of the princess watching from above. For the first time in many weeks, the princess felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, the humans were not all enemies. Perhaps there was a way to retrieve her child safely and, in time, to see her world and the human world coexist without war. As the night deepened, stars shimmered above the desert plains. Inside the outpost, warmth and trust grew between human and child. A fragile bond that would soon challenge the prejudices of an entire galaxy. And above, the alien princess prepared for the moment she would step forward, not as a conqueror, but as a mother seeking to understand the human who had shown her child care and courage beyond measure. The story was just beginning, but the first threads of hope, trust, and unexpected alliances were already weaving a path toward a future neither human nor alien could have imagined. The next morning, the outpost was quiet, but tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. Lily moved carefully, keeping the child close. She had prepared a small breakfast and offered it gently, hoping the child would eat. The child's large eyes, still shimmering with alien light, followed her every movement. Slowly, the child reached for the food, taking a small bite. Lily smiled, relief washing over her. "See? Nothing to worry about," she said softly. "You're safe here." The child's hands brushed against hers briefly, a small gesture of trust that filled her with warmth. Lily understood then that this bond was deeper than anything she had imagined. Protecting this child was no longer just a mission. It had become personal. Outside, the desert sun rose high, casting long shadows across the metal outpost. Sensors picked up movement in the distance, and Lily froze for a moment. Her instincts told her the princess had not left. A human patrol in another sector had reported sightings of a massive alien ship nearby, cloaked and silent. The outpost's alarms remained quiet, but Lily knew that something was coming. She had to stay alert. Far above, in the alien princess's ship, she observed the outpost with meticulous focus. Her eyes never left her child. She saw the human soldier moving gracefully, interacting with the child with care and patience. Every small act, the way Lily adjusted the blanket, the soft words spoken, the encouragement to eat, showed the princess a side of humans she had never known. They were not all deceitful or dangerous. Some, like this one, could act with courage, honor, and kindness. The princess's heart wavered. For weeks she had imagined finding her child and demanding obedience, asserting control with force if necessary. But watching from above, she realized that her child was happy, safe, and trusting. The thought that she might take the child abruptly and leave them in fear caused a tightening in her chest. Perhaps there was another way. Perhaps this human could help rather than hurt. Back in the outpost, Lily decided to take the child outside for fresh air. She led the way to a small platform overlooking the canyon. The winds here were strong, whipping sand in swirling patterns, but the view was breathtaking. The child stared in wonder, eyes reflecting the deep canyon and distant mountains. Lily knelt beside them. "Do you like it?" she asked. The child nodded slowly, pointing to a distant rock formation. They made soft sounds, a language unfamiliar to Lily, but she smiled anyway, understanding the tone more than the words. Joy, curiosity, freedom. "You'll get to explore more soon," Lily said. "As long as you're safe, we'll find a way to figure out the rest." She didn't realize that hidden high above, the princess watched every gesture. Her breathing slowed, her eyes softened. The child's small fingers had touched something deep within her, something older than anger or pride. Motherly love. She had been so focused on rage that she had almost forgotten the tenderness that defined her bond with her child. Hours passed, and Lily began to notice strange readings on her scanners. Alien signals, unlike anything she had seen, were approaching fast. She instinctively gathered the child and moved toward the center of the outpost, seeking a secure location. A gentle tremor ran through the floor as distant energy signatures pulsed through the canyon. Lily crouched with the child, whispering reassurance. "It's okay. I've got you. Nothing will happen to you while I'm here." The first figure appeared on the horizon, moving with grace and precision, then another and another, until a small group of alien soldiers had arrived, their movements disciplined and precise. Lily's eyes widened, but she did not panic. She had trained for hostile encounters, and she had the child in her arms. She would not let fear take control. The princess stepped forward, her presence commanding and radiant. The alien soldiers paused, giving her space. The princess's eyes met Lily's, sharp and calculating. She demanded the return of her child with a voice that could freeze water. "I am their mother," the princess said firmly. "Give me my child." Lily held the child tighter, her voice steady. "I found them alone. I promise to keep them safe. I will not let them be harmed." For a moment, silence fell over the canyon. The wind swirled around them, carrying sand and tension alike. The princess studied Lily, her expression shifting from anger to curiosity. She saw courage, determination, and care in Lily's eyes. This human was unlike any she had known. Perhaps, she thought, they could be trusted. The child shifted slightly in Lily's arms, glancing between the two adults. Their large, luminous eyes reflected trust in both. It was as if they understood the weight of the moment. The princess's heart ached. She had expected to find her child terrified, alone and ready to be returned to her control. Instead, she saw a child happy and safe, in the hands of someone who truly cared. The princess lowered her voice, speaking more softly. "I only want my child to be safe. Tell me, human, why do you protect them so fiercely?" Lily met her gaze and spoke honestly. "Because they are innocent. Because they need someone to care for them. And because no one should be alone in a galaxy that can be so dangerous. I promise to protect them, and I will keep that promise." The princess considered these words. She had been taught that humans were cunning and untrustworthy. But here was one standing before her, unwavering, acting with integrity and honor. She felt a flicker of respect, something she had rarely experienced toward another species. Over the next several hours, the two adults observed one another carefully, speaking cautiously, sharing little pieces of their worlds. Lily explained the human outpost, the simple routines, the efforts to maintain peace along the border. The princess shared stories of her world, the deserts, the twin suns, and the importance of her lineage. In these moments, the tension eased slightly, replaced with mutual curiosity. The child watched quietly, absorbing every word, every gesture. They seemed to understand the significance of this meeting without needing translation. The bond between the child and Lily remained strong, and the princess could not deny the comfort the child drew from the human's presence. As night fell over the desert world, both sides made a tentative decision to maintain their positions. The princess did not take the child by force, and Lily did not attempt to flee. Instead, an unspoken agreement formed. The child's safety was the priority, and both adults would act cautiously until trust could grow. The stars above the canyon twinkled with ancient light, silent witnesses to the fragile moment of understanding. For the first time, the princess considered that humans might be capable of honor, courage, and care. She had seen it firsthand. not in stories or warnings, but in the actions of one human soldier. Lily and the child settled in for the night, sharing a small space within the outpost. The child's breathing became steady, calm, and Lily felt a deep sense of responsibility and connection. She had no illusions about the challenges ahead. The princess would not easily forgive, nor would the galaxy immediately accept this fragile peace. But for now they were safe, and that was enough. Above, the princess remained in her ship, gazing down at the outpost. She had seen the truth in the humans' actions, and a seed of hope took root. Perhaps there was a way to retrieve her child without violence. Perhaps she could learn to trust, and perhaps she could even envision a future where humans and aliens worked together rather than against one another. The desert night was quiet, save for the winds whispering through the canyon, but inside the outpost, warmth and care continued to grow between human and child. A bridge was forming, small and delicate, but strong enough to hold the weight of a galaxy divided. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The princess would have to make decisions that could affect the future of her people. Lily would have to navigate the delicate balance between protection and diplomacy. And the child, blissfully unaware of the political and emotional storms around them, would continue to teach both species a lesson they had long forgotten. That trust, courage, and love could change everything. For the first time in many weeks, the princess allowed herself a quiet thought. Maybe hope was not lost. Maybe humanity was not the enemy she had been told to fear. And maybe, just maybe, her child's safety could be ensured without the destruction of everything around them. Morning light crept over the desert plains, painting the sands in shades of gold and orange. The air was dry and warm, carrying the faint scent of minerals and distant rocks. Inside the outpost, Lily stirred gently, careful not to wake the child. The small being lay curled beside her, breathing softly, still glowing faintly in the soft morning light. Lily studied them for a moment, thinking of the journey that had begun only a few days ago. She had found the child alone, abandoned in the canyon, and now they had become inseparable. Outside, the winds picked up, rolling over the canyon walls in waves. Lily glanced toward the horizon, her instincts alert. She sensed the presence of something above, something powerful. The alien princess's ship hovered silently in orbit, watching. Lily knew this meeting was far from over. The princess had observed her for 2 nights, judging her actions, testing her intentions. Now she suspected the princess was preparing for her next move. The child stirred and opened their large eyes, blinking at the human. Lily smiled softly. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" The child's small hand reached out and touched Lily's face, a gesture that spoke more than words. It was trust, acceptance, and connection all at once. Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that this was not only about protection anymore. The child had changed something inside her, something she could not yet name. Above, the princess watched the exchange, studying every movement, every expression. Her anger had not disappeared, but it had softened. She could see the bond forming between the human and her child. It was unusual, unexpected, and unsettling. She had trained for diplomacy, for war, for confrontation. She had not trained for understanding a human in this way. Yet here she was, realizing that this soldier's loyalty and care were genuine. By midday, the princess decided to make her presence known. She landed her ship a safe distance from the outpost, stepping out onto the desert sands. Her figure was commanding, her armor gleaming in the sunlight, but there was a softness in her eyes as she approached. Lily noticed her immediately. She held the child close, standing her ground but without aggression. "You have protected them well," the princess said, her voice both strong and measured. "I see courage in you, human. I see honor. Tell me, why do you not fear me?" Lily met her gaze steadily. "I do not fear you because I do not see you as an enemy. I see someone who wants the same thing I do, safety for this child. I will defend them, yes, but not out of hatred. Out of care, out of duty, out of trust." The princess's expression softened further. She had expected defiance, fear, or submission. Instead, she found honesty, empathy, and strength. This human had chosen to act with integrity, even when it was risky. It was remarkable, almost beyond her understanding. For a long moment they stood in silence, the wind rustling around them, carrying the scent of sand and heat. The child looked up at the princess, their small eyes shining with curiosity and calm. The princess's heart tightened. Seeing her child safe and unafraid, even in the presence of a stranger, brought both relief and confusion. "May I speak with them?" the princess asked carefully, nodding toward the child. Lily hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, but please, no sudden moves. They are small, and they need reassurance." The princess knelt slowly, maintaining eye contact with the child. "Hello," she said softly. "It is your mother. I have come to be with you." The child's eyes widened briefly, then softened. They did not recoil or cry. Instead, they reached toward the princess, a small gesture of recognition. The princess felt a surge of emotion she had not allowed herself in weeks. Hope, love, and a fragile trust in the human who had cared for her child. Over the next few hours, Lily and the princess spoke carefully. They shared information about their respective worlds, their experiences, and their goals. Lily explained the human perspective, the desire for peace, and the importance of collaboration along the border. The princess explained her fears, her anger at past betrayals, and her determination to protect her people and her child. Through their conversation, the princess began to understand something crucial. The human's actions were guided not by strategy or manipulation, but by genuine care. She had expected a challenge, a conflict, a reason to assert dominance. Instead, she saw honesty, integrity, and loyalty. The child, meanwhile, played quietly with a small device Lily had given them, a toy that projected soft lights across the walls of the outpost. They laughed softly, a sound that carried across the room like music. The princess watched, unable to look away. She realized that this laughter, this joy, was possible because of the human. The human had not only protected her child, but had given them comfort and happiness. As the sun began to set, the desert world glowed with warm colors. Lily and the princess moved outside, bringing the child with them. The three of them stood together, the wind carrying sand and light across the canyon. The princess finally spoke, her voice quieter, more reflective. "You have done something I did not expect," she said, addressing Lily. "You have shown me that not all humans are threats, that some can act with honor, courage, and care, and for that I am grateful." Lily nodded, understanding the weight of the words. "I did what any responsible human would do. I protect those who cannot protect themselves. And I believe that every being deserves safety, especially this child." The princess glanced at her child, who smiled and reached for both Lily and her. The small gesture bridged the gap between worlds, between species, and between hearts. For the first time in weeks, the princess felt something other than anger, possibility. That night, they shared a small meal outside the outpost. The child rested between them, safe and calm. The stars above twinkled like distant fires, silent witnesses to a fragile alliance forming. The princess realized that the human had not only protected her child, but had begun to teach her a lesson she had long forgotten. That trust, understanding, and compassion could change everything. The desert night deepened, and the three of them settled in for rest. The princess allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She had expected confrontation and defiance, yet here she found cooperation and understanding. She had expected fear and anger, yet here she found courage and honesty. She had expected only obstacles, yet here she found a bridge between worlds. Lily stayed vigilant, watching over the child as they slept, knowing that the days ahead would test them all. The princess remained nearby, her mind turning over strategies and possibilities, but also considering something new: peace. She had refused it before, certain that humans were incapable of trust. Now she wondered if the human before her could change her mind, and perhaps even the fate of the galaxy. As the night carried on, a quiet understanding settled over the group. The child's safety remained paramount, but now there was something more. A growing recognition that cooperation could achieve what conflict never could. The princess had come seeking her child and found something else as well. A glimpse of a future in which humans and her people might not be enemies, but allies. In the stillness, the winds of the desert whispered across the sands, carrying the promise of change. The princess allowed herself to hope. Tomorrow would bring challenges, decisions, and tests, but tonight there was safety, warmth, and trust. For the first time in many weeks, she slept knowing that her child was protected, and that perhaps with the human's help, the future could be brighter than she had ever imagined. The next morning, the desert world glowed with the warmth of twin suns. The canyon below shimmered in gold, and the winds carried a soft, dry scent across the sands. Inside the outpost, Lily and the princess prepared for the day together. For the first time, they moved without tension. Their focus was the child, who had slept peacefully through the night, now stretching and blinking in the sunlight. The child looked between Lily and the princess, their eyes filled with trust and curiosity. Lily knelt beside them, brushing back stray hair from their glowing forehead. "Good morning," she said softly. "Did you sleep well?" The child nodded, then reached out to the princess. The princess knelt carefully, mirroring Lily's movements, letting the child climb gently onto her lap. She held them close, feeling the small heartbeat against her own. For the first time in many weeks, her fear and anger melted away. She realized how much she had missed these simple moments, the warmth, the closeness, the love that had driven her to search tirelessly. The princess glanced at Lily. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said quietly. "You have protected them, nurtured them, and never faltered. I see now that humans are capable of honor and care beyond what I had been told." Lily smiled. "We all have the capacity to do the right thing. Sometimes it is simple, sometimes it is hard, but I knew I had to protect them no matter what." For a long moment, the three sat in silence, letting the gentle breeze carry away the tension of the past days. The child's soft hums and small gestures reminded them that the future could be gentle and hopeful, even amidst the dangers of their worlds. Suddenly, sensors at the outpost beeped urgently. Lily rose, holding the child close. The readings indicated alien ships approaching, far more than the princess had sent. Alarm spread through the outpost as human soldiers prepared for possible conflict. The princess's eyes narrowed. She had not called for reinforcements. Something was happening beyond her immediate knowledge. "They are coming for conflict," the princess said softly, her voice steady despite concern. "We must be cautious. But we are not alone, human. We face this together," Lily nodded. She had no doubt that the princess's presence would change the course of any confrontation. "Then we prepare and we protect," she said firmly. "Together." As the ships drew closer, their engines roaring across the canyon, the princess and Lily coordinated quickly. Lily directed human soldiers to strategic positions, while the princess called out instructions to her own forces, explaining that no harm was to come to the child. She emphasized cooperation, not conflict, and for the first time, both sides moved with purpose toward a shared goal rather than opposing it. The alien ships approached the outpost, expecting battle, but instead found the two leaders standing united. The princess stepped forward, her voice carrying across the sands. "We will not fight," she declared. "This child is under protection. Any aggression will be met with measured response, but our goal is not destruction. Our goal is safety, understanding, and, if possible, peace." There was silence across the canyon. The opposing forces hesitated, surprised by the display of unity between a human and an alien princess. The child, sensing the tension, clutched the princess's arm. The gesture seemed to remind both sides that the smallest life often carried the greatest weight. The alien commander of the approaching ships lowered their weapon. "Your leadership is unexpected," he said finally. "We were sent to attack. But now we see the situation differently. We will not fire if you promise the child remains safe." The princess met his gaze firmly. "I promise. This child will not be harmed," Lily added softly, "and we will ensure no harm comes from either side. They are our responsibility, not a weapon for war." A tense moment passed, then the ship slowed, retreating slightly to indicate compliance. The princess allowed herself a breath, relief washing over her. She glanced at the child, who smiled up at both Lily and her. The child's laughter, bright and pure, seemed to soften the desert air itself. The remainder of the day was spent negotiating the withdrawal of forces. Lily and the princess worked side by side, communicating with humans and aliens alike. Slowly, understanding began to grow. Messages were sent back to the leaders of both species, explaining the unusual cooperation at the outpost and the presence of the child who had inspired it. By evening, a fragile peace had been established along the border, built upon trust rather than fear. As the suns dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the canyon, the princess held her child close. She realized that the human soldier beside her was not an enemy, nor merely an ally, but a partner in protecting the most important thing she had ever loved. "You have my respect," the princess said quietly to Lily. "And more than that, my gratitude. You have shown me what it means to act with true courage, care, and honor." Lily shook her head slightly, smiling. "I just did what anyone would do if they found a child alone and scared. But thank you. It means a lot to hear that from you." The child sitting between them reached out to both, their small hands resting gently on the princess's and Lily's. It was a symbol of trust, of unity, and of hope. In that moment, the three of them formed a bond that transcended species, borders, and old conflicts. Night fell, and the stars above the canyon sparkled like distant fires. The desert was quiet, save for the gentle rustling of wind and the soft sounds of the child's breathing. The princess and Lily sat together sharing a simple meal, talking quietly and reflecting on the events of the past days. "We've changed something," Lily said, finally breaking the silence. "The galaxy may still have challenges, but today we showed that trust and care can prevent destruction." The princess nodded. "Yes, today we began something that could last far longer than any war. Perhaps our people will learn that cooperation can be stronger than conflict. Perhaps our future can be brighter than I ever imagined." For the first time in weeks, the princess allowed herself to smile. She had found her child safe, happy, and loved. She had witnessed a human act with integrity, courage, and empathy. And she had glimpsed a new path for her people and for the galaxy. The child stirred, lifting their small face to the princess and Lily. "Safe," they said softly in their own language, but the meaning was clear. They felt safe. They were loved. The princess held them tightly. "Yes," she whispered. "Safe, always." Lily placed a hand on the princess's shoulder, a quiet gesture of solidarity. "We've done well today," she said, "and we'll continue to do well together." The night deepened, and the three of them settled down, the child between them. The winds of the canyon carried a sense of calm, a promise that even in a galaxy of conflict, moments of understanding and care could shine through. As the twin moons rose overhead, the princess looked at the child, then at Lily and whispered softly, "This is only the beginning. But with courage, trust, and care, we can face whatever comes next." The child yawned and rested their head against her chest. Lily smiled, holding them both close. The princess's heart was full. The galaxy was vast and uncertain, but for now there was safety, unity, and hope. In the silence of the desert night, the outpost became more than a shelter. It became a place of connection, trust, and courage. And in that small space, a human, an alien princess, and a child had begun to write a story that could change the future of the galaxy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight they were safe, together and stronger for the bond they had formed. The princess had found her child, not just in her arms, but in the care of another species. And she had learned that courage, compassion, and trust could be more powerful than any weapon. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to hope, not only for her child, but for the world, and for the future that lay ahead. And as the stars sparkled above, the child slept peacefully, knowing they were loved, protected, and part of something greater than themselves. Lily and the princess watched over them, silent and united, ready to face the dawn together, whatever it might bring. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, but in that moment, there was peace, there was trust, and there was hope.